need you now. We need you now. If we ever needed you, we need you now. Come on, no music. Let me hear you say. Lift your voice, say. If we ever needed you, we need you now. We need you now. We need you now. Say, if we ever needed you, we need you now. We need you. Last time, say, if we ever needed you, we need you now. Anybody need God to move in their life, to move in some special way on this week, whether it's financially, emotionally, with your relationship, just cry out to him this morning. Say, Lord, I need you. Lord, I need you. Come on, open up your mouth. Say, Lord, I need you. Come on, tell him I need you. In whatever area you need him to show up and to show out, just ask him today. He's a God that will hear your prayers. Ask him today. Reveal yourself to us in the earth, in our family, in our situation. We need you, Lord. We need you, Lord. We need you, Lord. Last time, if we ever say, if we ever needed you, we need you now. We need you now. If we ever needed you, we need you now. We need you now. Hallelujah. 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 Romans chapter 12, verse 3. It's for I say, through the grace given to me, to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, as God has dealt to each one a measure of faith. God has dealt to each one a measure of faith. Amen. Amen. So I want to speak this morning. We've been teaching on our series of what's the point of your life, looking at how so many people are just living their lives casually without purpose. And really, we've been challenging us. The Lord has been challenging us during this series to really look at why we are here. Amen. Whether or not we're living as people of purpose and realizing Scripture talks about the fact that life is but a vapor. That we have a finite amount of time here on the earth. And yet so many of us as believers are living our lives as if we have an unlimited amount of time to do what God has called us to do. And look, and the reality of it is, it's important for you to even have these moments where God brings you to a place of sobriety. Because the culture and the world that we live in is not focused on living a life that is purposed and connected to their divine calling. We're very ambitious. That stuff has crept into the church. We're very driven. We're very worldly when it comes to the things that we're after, and many of them have nothing to do with the call that God has for our life. So God, we come to you even right now, God, asking you to speak, to open up your word to us, to have your way in this place so that none of us would leave the same way that we came in. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Be seated. God gave us a prophetic head start with this series, didn't he? Yeah. When it comes to the mentality and the mindset and our perspectives on life, I wonder how many of us have really started living as opposed to existing. And a lot of whether or not you are living has to do with your state of mind, where you are spiritually, who you are, understanding who you are. Just because people are, the age of 18 or over or 21 or over, that doesn't mean that they're an adult and that they understand why they're here. And some people, even in this room, you don't know who you are. And the reason I can tell you don't know who you are, because who you are changes based on the rooms that you're in. Who you are changes based on the company you're around. And that's a very scary thing. To think as God, the creator, the one who created you. It's like a parent. It's like you see a child that you've known them longer than they really have known themselves. And then you find out your child is like some nut. And you're like, not my baby. My child did that? And that's the way God is looking at us, because he knows what he's stocked us with. He knows what he's placed on the inside of us. But the reality of it is many of you don't know who you are, because you act one way in his presence and you forget that he's with you even when you think that he's not with you. He's with you everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. And so when it comes to living, what is your whole definition of living? What's your definition of living? Because Jesus said, I come that you might have life and you might have it more abundantly. And a lot of the things that the culture today ties to living are actually things that will kill you. Drinking, smoking, partying hard, doing stuff that wears out the temple. Your body is the temple of the living God. So it's literally like trashing the very place that he's given you for him to reside in, for him to be able to lead you. I know I done lost the whole church here. But living. We even talked about one of our homework assignments was to write your bucket list. And a lot of people, it's funny because Apostle Stevenson even touched on it in the prayer this morning, about your bucket list ought to point to your purpose. But the way we've been programmed in society is that the bucket list is just stupid stuff that you do before you get up out of here. So our definition of living is different based on where we are in our faith. Where we are in our understanding of who God is. And so when it comes to the time that we have here on this earth, and the word has been challenging us about what we're doing with our lives. Not only what we're doing with our lives, but who we're doing it with. And so just seeing how this coronavirus pandemic has shaken the world, it's revealed where people are in regards to their faith. And a lot of people criticize a lot of churches that close down, but they have to, because legally, if somebody gets sick as a result of being in public assembly, then it's going to fall on the responsibility of the church. So it's not that people don't have faith. It's that people know that people are a mess. Christians. And yet, so we can't come to church because you might get sued if you bring them into church. But the malls were packed. Restaurants are packed. So if I could title the message today, like, do you have faith? Get your faith. Is it fake? Or is it genuine faith? The faith is something we see so easily taken for granted because it only becomes active when we need it. And so you might, like to think or imagine that your faith is really strong. But what happens when your faith is tested? What happens? What comes out of your mouth when your faith is tested? That's who you are. What thoughts do you think when your faith is tested? that reveals who you are. And so as much as you want to imagine that you got this super duper faith, especially when things are going well, look at how you handle things in hardship, difficulty. Because the true test of your faith is when things get hard. Come on, when the world is in an uproar, how do you respond? And if not for anything, when the world is going crazy, shouldn't that help you see that you're here for a purpose? It's like you're a Christian. How many Christians we got in here today? So what would Jesus do when a pandemic is making everybody fearful? Shut down the church. What would Jesus do? He went outside the building. He went out and had a healing revival. As a matter of fact, everybody that was showing up had an issue. Isn't that the same today? That no matter how sophisticated you look or how together you look, you got some issues. And if you're not careful and the person next to you is not careful, that stuff will get on them. So, what did Jesus do when trouble came? He didn't hide. He didn't hide. He sent leadership into crisis. He provided answers and solutions to people that were frantic. Even when we look what we've been studying, when we look at the children of Israel, he sent leadership in the person of Moses to confront the political system, the powers that be, and to call the people to a place of stability and a place of calm, knowing that God was going to bring them out. They were how many plagues? And some of y'all still don't know. Pastor A gave the answer up here, but study. See how many plagues it was. I got excited because Spirit sent out an email. You know, all the companies been sending out emails to try to calm people because they still need business. So they sent out an email and they said, I said, man, y'all preaching. They said, we survived Ebola. We survived. They started naming all the different stuff that came and shook people. And they said, we survived all of it and we'll survive this one too. Come on, somebody ought to say, hallelujah, we'll survive this one too. Survive this one too. But if your faith is little, see, I consider myself to have big faith, but I was coughing the other day and I felt tired. I was like, maybe I got it. I was sitting in the house like, I might have this. Because if you sit there and you are listening to the radio, you are listening to the media, and you are listening to people that are, this is boosting their ratings. They need to get you frantic. They need to get you in an uproar so the government can tell you to stay away from people, socially distance yourself, but go into the market and you can't find room to walk. So even if we were avoiding each other, we all gonna get whatever we got at the supermarket. You're there wiping the cart off with the wipes. You know, like, yes. And everybody grabbing the thing. And then we all grabbing the same cabinets and opening up the same refrigerators. And ain't nobody wiping them. Slow. I said it this morning. I told my husband, he came in. I said, don't go downstairs. I said, all of them supposed to be intelligent. And they all went down into a little small space to have Sunday school. I said, don't go down there. I said, all of them supposed to be smart. I provided leadership, but I say, you know what? Let me step back and see what these leaders are going to do. Isn't that what Jesus had to do? Jesus said, I got to go away. And when he went away, what did they do? They all went hiding. They all lost it, because what happens is if you are not working and you're not leading on a regular basis, that when crisis comes, you don't know how to respond in crisis. Y'all don't like me this morning. I'm trying to tell you that God is going to see you through, but the situations that he brings us into are meant to stretch us. They're meant to stretch us. They're meant to... Remember we talked about before that oftentimes God would send trouble to get people close to him. You start seeing people start praying. Now everybody want to pray. Even Trump going to send out something about we got to believe in our faith. This man go to funerals and stand there and don't even pray or nothing. Just look around like... But trouble will push you to a place where you figure out what your measure of faith is. How much faith do I have? How much faith do I have? And you think about the times in your life where your faith was increased. It probably wasn't even increased. It was probably there. It just needed some situations to activate it. And so the cooler your life is and the more calm it is and the less adversity you have to deal with, the more arrogant you get. And you don't feel like you need to rely on God because you got money in your bank account, or you got friends, or you got a boo, or you got a house, or you got a good job. But God says, you know what? Okay, I've got to create some storms, because that's the only way they're going to call on me. God's always trying to show us that no matter what happens around us, if we focus on him, he'll bring us out. Even if you look at the New Testament, when Jesus was walking with the disciples in the flesh, want to know what they did whenever they were tested in the area of their faith? Right in front of Jesus? It might sound right, and this is kind of a trick question, but every time they found themselves challenged when Jesus was present, they looked to him. Now, don't get me wrong, because looking at Jesus is the right thing. But here's what I'm saying. I'm afraid a lot of us as Christians look to Jesus in a manipulative way. That's why it's fake faith. Write this in your notes. You can't manipulate God. How are you going to manipulate somebody who knows your thoughts before you even think them? But we try to manipulate God with our fake faith. When we say we lean on Jesus, and yet our words do not match our behavior. Bible says faith without works is dead. That's dead faith, which means it's not even faith. Dead faith is faith that's not working. Not working, unemployed faith is unpaid faith. If you don't put your faith to work, don't expect for it to pay off. And so many of us have become cowardly and afraid to grow up and become responsible and accountable leaders in the area of community, family, our relationships, our marriage, issues, community issues, public issues that are going on, because we want to keep using the excuse that we're trusting on Jesus. We're leaning on Jesus, that we're praying. And how many of y'all know that most of y'all, when y'all tell people y'all praying for them, that was the prayer? That doesn't go beyond what you just said out of your mouth. And so, I do counseling, so I talk to people all the time who talk out one side. 1 minute is this, and the next minute is that. And if you talk, and I think that's one good thing about counseling is you can see how much you are not stable. And the whole purpose of you understand what I'm saying? You be like, did I just say that? And the purpose of it is to get get you to a place where you realize you can't trust your own thoughts. Because one minute you'll say one thing and the next minute you'll say something else. But we aren't here to play around with our faith. We aren't here to play around with even the honor that we have to represent Jesus. It's an honor to represent him. So to represent him and to not do it with any excellence. That's fake faith. I would tell you, but I don't want you to talk to your neighbor, but say it to yourself. Don't keep trying to use Jesus as a crutch for you to remain weak. Jesus got aggravated with the disciples a whole lot of times because he was trying to prepare them for purpose. And they kept trying to point it back to him and make him do it. Over and over again. With the little boy with the lunch. The whole multitude needed to be fed. You know, all of them are like, let's just send these people home. Jesus had been doing all the teaching. They hadn't done anything. They were just part of the entourage. Right. How many of us are guilty of just wanting to be a part of the entourage of Jesus? We want titles. We want to be down with him, but we don't want to do anything. We just want to ride his glory train. He's like, no, that's not what I came here for. That's not the purpose. That's not the purpose of your life. He was like, the point of your life and why you're here is so that you can be a leader. And the point of leading people in the house of God is to lead them to become their best. And we definitely are supposed to be available to lead people in crisis. Amen. We're not here to be a part of some clique or club, some special group. We're here to work. Amen. Luke 9:46-48. Jesus airs them out. He airs the disciples out because all they're concerned about is who is going to be the greatest among us. They're worried about special seats. They're worried about who's the closest to him, who's going to get this and who's going to get that. And he's like, no, you got this all wrong. It's not about the stuff that you think it's about. So even we see today that the kingdom of God, we ought to be leading in this crisis. The people of God ought to be leading in this crisis. The people of God ought to be leading in this crisis. We ought to have a measure of faith that causes us to speak life when everybody else is going crazy. We ought to have a measure of faith that causes us to be stable when everybody else is going crazy. Same has got to be true in your house, in your family. If you ever want to have impact, people have got to see you become stable. See, some of us are only stable when it benefits us. And so some of us only have a measure of faith concerning something that we benefit from. But our faith has got to fit. It's got to fit the vision of heaven. We have changeable faith. We got faith that our trip won't get canceled. But we don't have faith to believe that God can fix the situation. We got faith that superficial things will work out. But when it comes to God healing the land, we have faith that fits what we want to fit it for, but everything else is not our concern. And I'm concerned that until the church gets a burden and a heart and a concern for more than just us and our stuff, and we just got nothing but fake faith. We're displaying fake faith. And don't you know people know when you fake? Well, know when you fake. You know, it's like You only have faith when you got the microphone. You know, you only got faith when you teaching. You only got faith when it's your program. You only got faith. These people, they were walking with Jesus, watching the power of God at work, and they became casual with it. How many of you can be honest that you can get casual with all God has done in your life? You can get casual. If you're not careful, you can get casual with it. And Jesus is like, listen, I'm here to show you. I'm here to show you people who are dealing with illness and people who are dealing with crisis and people who y'all got it together. But these people around us, they need what we have. And if they need what we have, we can't approach it in a place of superiority. We can't think highly of ourselves. We've got to understand that He's favored us and He's stocked us and He's equipped us with what we have so we can lead a nation out of slavery, out of bondage, out of crisis, out of being inauthentic, out of being insincere. Come on, He's called us to do more than just do us. These people are present to see Him raise the dead and heal the sick. They're there when He calms the sea. And He shows them that He's able to do all of this and tells them, you have power to do even greater stuff. He's like, I'm doing all of this in front of you so that I can activate something in you. If you are living your life watching the miracles of God, the wonders of God, and it's not activating you to do anything outside of just leaning on Jesus, then you're missing the point. He did not bless you. He did not heal you. He did not promote you. He did not elevate you to just sit there and not be effective and help anybody but yourself. That's fake faith. Concerned that we're missing the point for our existence. When we find ourselves hit with trouble and our faith is not able to make a difference in our community. Our faith is not able to make a difference in our family. Come on, your family ought to be saved. Your family, your husband, your wife ought to be saved. They ought to want the same Jesus that you want. And anytime you become casual in your pursuit of seeing the lost saved, you are missing the point. It is not the point that Jesus placed you here so that you can have a book full of notes. Think you better than everybody else in your family. Because you're not. Because you're not if you can't. Jesus said about Lazarus. Lazarus died. He said, and I'm glad. And this is his friend. He called him friend. He said, Lazarus is dead and I'm glad. And he wanted him to die so that people would get a picture of what Jesus in heaven will do for people that they love. That they will watch, that no matter how bad the situation gets, that there's nothing too hard for God. That if He loves you and if He cares about you, that He'll stop what He's doing and He'll come to see you and call you up out of anything that seems to have you messed up, anything that seems to have you bound. And so He goes there in full demonstration because you haven't seen God do everything that you want him to do. Think about the things that God has done for you and realize that you're a living testimony. Come on, God is real. God is able. He is a healer. He is a keeper. Anybody in here should have lost their mind? Anybody in here should have... For many of us, it should have went another way. But Jesus loves us. Same way he came for his friend Lazarus, he came for me. Come on, pull me up out of a place of not knowing who I was. Come on, pull me up out of a place of being one person one way in one setting and another person in another setting, and said, no, I need you to be confident in who I called you to be. And I need you to understand that anybody that can't take the real you ought not be around you in the first place. Come on, I need you to be confident enough to know that I'm enough for you, that I love you, that I care about you, that I have great plans for you. Somebody say, we're in a position to do more. We're in a position to do more than hide from one another. Hiding from issues, hiding from problems, hiding from stuff that the church ought to be at the forefront leading. When did your faith get so silent? We're in a position where we all have to confront the real quality of our faith. Is it genuine faith? Or is it fake faith? That obituary assignment I gave you all was so that you to write your obituary was for you to have a moment to see what is going to be said about you when you're not here. And hopefully they'll read that, but they probably won't. Because when you're gone, people gonna tell the real story. It's one thing what you want people to think about you. It's another thing what is the reality about you. What's your measure of faith? How much faith do you have today for what's in front of you? What is in front of you? Because you got to understand that anything in front of you that you don't confront, you can't conquer. Gone are the days of pretending that issues are not issues. Gone are the days of thinking that you can see, we like to pray, I'm just going to pray on it. No, you're not. I'm going to have to pray on it. When do you pray anyway? You don't even come to prayer. Amen. It's just secret prayer. Is your faith enough to move forward in the presence of difficulty? Because that's when the faith is needed. See, it's not enough for you to have faith for everybody else and not faith for your own house. And that's one of the things, a lot of preachers, we have to come to grips with that, is oftentimes we can preach to other people, but when it comes to our own situation, our faith is not as strong when it comes to what God said to us as it is to what God said to you. We got to grow up our own faith. Got to grow up our own capacity to handle the assignment and the anointing and the favor and the gifting and the weightiness that God has placed on us. It's no need for you. Paul said, I don't want to be a castaway. I don't want to have preached to everybody else. And then at the end of my life, I'm just abandoned and thrown to the side. God did not equip you and place you here so that you can be a personal preacher to everybody in your family. And at the end of the day, you have nobody to intercede for you. You have nobody to cover you. You have nobody that speaks life into you. Come on, I'm talking right here. That some of us, we have become martyrs. And that's not the point of your life. That's not the point of your life, is not to let these people kill you. The point of your life is not to let the fact that you love people so much make you look like a dummy. Right? That would be like you going and depositing money into an account every day and you never can get anything back. You think that's the point of your life? You think the point and that's why some of you have such little faith. It's because you keep putting your faith in the wrong accounts. It's a bad investment. That's a bad investment. Your faith has got to be built up by God. It's not in and of yourself. It's not your expectations of people. It's what God spoke over your life. And if you don't know what God spoke over your life, you need to get a relationship with him so that he can pour into you and he can build you up and he can validate you and he can affirm you and he can heal you and he can fill all the holes and the voids that you have in your life. And you run to this friend and this relationship, and some of y'all run everywhere trying to make friends with people and don't nobody like you. It's transactional relationships. You call people friend all day long. A friend loveth at all times. Come on, let's read the Bible. Let's define friendship. See, if the person is only your friend if you go to their event. If the person is only your friend if you reach out to them. This is not friendship. This is why your faith is so little. This is why your trust level is so little. Trust and faith go hand in hand. And if the people who you are in these relationships with are messing up your ability to see and to have clarity and to have trust and support and wisdom for the future, then it's going to mess up your ability to hear from heaven. He says, how can you say you love me whom you haven't seen? And these people. And so just because it's normal to you doesn't mean it's normal. Just because it feels like home to you does not mean it's actually home. Home could have been a place of trauma. Home could have been a place of inconsistency. Home could have been a place of abuse and manipulation. And some of you are running to relationships that feel like home, but it's not the place that God has called you to. Interfering with your faith. It's got your faith messed up. Some of you need to be doing a lot more with your life, with your time on this earth. But you're still dealing with the trauma. Trauma will block you from living a life that is a quality life. And you think, okay, you 20, 23, 24, 25, you can just be, you know, a little lit. But after that, you done missed it. Like Drew turned 25 yesterday, that's it. You don't have a chance anymore. No more. No more because he's a man, first of all. Come on. You understand? The Apostle Paul said, when I was a child, spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I behaved as a child. But when I grew up, I put away childish things. You ought to say that to yourself. Say, it's time to put away childish things. You ought not have childish faith at this level. All the miracles, all the blessings, all the mountains God has moved for you, and you still got baby faith. You still got faith like a toddler. You still got infant faith after you saw all the things that he kept you from, all the things that he blocked. Your faith needs to be growing.
Yeah, come on.
It needs to be growing. It really does. It really does. The same way your job gives you an expectation that you need to have some results. Come on. God is calling you today that you ought to have some results. In the kingdom, you ought not be a child like an infant tossed here and there. You ought not be 1 minute talking about Jesus, the next minute talking about the universe. Grow up. Get over it. Come on. Understand that every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. Sorry, but you can't twist it and think that you can operate as a man or a woman of faith. That's fake faith. Your faith needs to be growing, and it can't grow if you keep feeding it the same garbage that you've been feeding it. Faith is belief in who? In God. How do we get to God? Through his son Jesus. That's the door. It's not in and of ourselves. It's not in and of our abilities. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are. How many know that if you don't operate with faith, that you will get up and be intelligent and you will lose the ability to think? Everything you studied, everything you planned for, it'll be like gone. That's how much we rely on God.
Yes, amen.
That's how much we need God. I'm telling you, things can be one way. We see it from this pandemic. We see it through crisis. We see it over and over again. 9/11. We see it through all these different situations that happen. And things can be good 1 minute, and the next minute, disaster come. Things can be fine. Your marriage can be fine, and then a few days later, you find out they cheating on you. Come on, your children can be doing well, and next thing you know, you find out that they living a whole nother life. Come on. This is why your faith has got to be secure in God. Because things are always changing. Come on, relationships are variables. You never know. The person sitting next to you can like you today and tomorrow can't stand you. Come on, it happens on a regular basis. It's nothing new under the sun. But what you've got to do is you've got to prepare yourself to be able to handle whatever it is that comes your way. And I'm afraid that many of us are not prepared to handle whatever comes our way. That's why we're always frantic about little things. That's why we're always in an uproar about little things. That's why we're always catastrophizing stuff that does not need to be catastrophized. Come on, that's why we're always in a place where we're looking to leech and rely on somebody to help make us feel secure, only to be disappointed because we're putting our confidence in man. And the scripture says that that's a faulty place to put your trust. Am I lying?
No, not at all, Pam.
It's a wrong place to put your confidence in. Your confidence when it comes to anything, your job, your marriage, your family, has got to be first faith focused. That if this person stops loving me, there's a God who still loves me. That if this money leaves me, that I still believe that he'll provide for me. That if something happens and my health changes, that I still trust that God can heal me. Come on, I still believe that as long as I have breath, that it's attached to purpose. It's like that little guy, he doesn't have any legs. He don't have, he hops around and he speaks all over the country. It's like some of you have so much to offer, but you allow yourself to be excused from doing anything of purpose because your faith has gotten so little. And I come to speak to somebody in here today that it's time for you to stir up your most holy faith. It's time for you to get up and stop allowing what happened to you and who happened to you and what the enemy stole from you to freedom in what we do. If you're free, act like you're free. Come on, if you're free, act like you're free. I crack up looking at these people walking around wrapped up in saran wrap and all kinds of stuff, walking around looking crazy. It's like you don't have no faith in God. Positive thinking is not enough. Positive thinking is not enough. You're like, I just need some me time. I just need to do some positive affirmations. Yeah, but at the end of the day, after your affirmations and after your and everything else you're doing, you still got to stand there and deal with a reality that if you don't have the measure of faith to handle what's in front of you, you're still crazy. You're still talking to yourself. You're still acting like a child. You're still back in the place of your childhood trauma, even though you're a grown woman or a grown man. Come on, we've got to get to a place where we realize we can't pump ourselves up enough to get to a place to have real faith. That's fake faith. That's like people all hyped up at a game. And then when their team start losing, they quiet. Crying. You know, they sitting down. You know, what happened to your faith? Looking at that score, you don't have the faith no more. Some of y'all keep looking at the score. You need to realize at the end, we win. You might lose this game, but in the end, we win. Go to the end of the book and realize that we win. Positive thinking focuses entirely on self anyway. You can do this. There's no obstacle in front of you that you can't conquer. You know, you listen to it, the music playing in the background. It's all calming, but at the end of the day, you got to get out here and work this faith. You got to get out after you listen to all of these good words, all these motivational speakers. After you listen to them, you've got to act it out. And if you're having trouble doing that after all these years in church, you got some fake faith. It's like I went to the hair store one day, and this lady came with me. Jewel was with me, and we were in the hair store looking at some, getting ready to buy some hair products, and the lady walked in and said, "Excuse me, where are the Louis Vuitton bags?" And we died like, not here. And the man was like, right there. Because he had some fake ones. And she came in there with full faith that she was getting a Louis Vuitton bag. But if you know like I know, you can't get one from the Chinese store. Not if it's going to be real. And see, that's a word for some of y'all who going to the club trying to find a wife. Come on, going to the bar trying to find happiness at happy hour. You ain't happy. You drunk. I went on vacation. Well, the first time my husband took me to Jamaica. When we got to Jamaica, we went to this all-inclusive place. And you know, I'm not a person that has ever in my life like drank hard liquor or anything like that. They gave me a welcome drink. I'm on vacation. I'll take it. That thing, I had one of them. That thing had me, the whole room was doing like this. I couldn't stop. I could not stop. Like, I felt like I was going to die. My heart was beating. My husband was like, you just need to lay down. See, he a Kappa. He used to drink hard in the college. He's like, you just need to lay down. It'll pass. I was like, never again. This is fun? I'm like, people call this fun? No. Oh my gosh. Because somebody said, we're not going to be here forever. We got to use our time wisely. Come on, you too old to be getting lit. You too old to be doing all this stuff. Your liver. exposed how so many of us who profess to be people of faith have so little faith. We literally cannot find hand sanitizer anywhere. Can't get toilet paper. I don't know what people need all this toilet paper for. Does the virus give you diarrhea? I didn't see that as one of the signs, but one of the symptoms. We're showing our slip, y'all. Our slip is showing. Our slip is showing as people of faith. It's showing. The children of Israel, here's my last point, they were no different. They shrunk and they hid their faith when they should have been demonstrating the power of God in the earth. And I'm going to say this to especially y'all leaders in here. Y'all need to do better. It's people of faith. If the restaurants and the airlines and everybody else is sanitizing and cleaning, you should have been here to help do that too. And nobody should have to tell you. It's your responsibility as a leader. As a leader, come on, I'm speaking to somebody in here today. As a leader, this is what Jesus was like, y'all are ridiculous. This is in my own words. Y'all are ridiculous. It's like y'all waiting on me to tell you everything. And it's like if you care for the people, that's the point. The point of your existence is not for you to care for yourself. Amen. You do enough of that. Amen. You've done plenty of that. What'd you do yesterday? You serve anybody? See what I'm saying? Yeah. How about the day before? You think 2 hours on Sunday you fulfilled something and now you think highly of yourself. That speaks to your measure of faith. Amen. We can't be a people who call ourselves the people of God and then we're still just stuck in this place of mental slavery, which is basically unbelief. It's unbelief in who we are and whose we are. And who you are should not change when you walk out these doors. Amen. Okay. Who you are, if it does, you're fake. If it does, you're fake. If who you profess to be on Sunday morning is different than who you are when you step out these doors, then there's some issues going on. You got some head issues. You need healing. Because it's only but so long that you can pretend to be one person in one setting and another person in another setting. Y'all ever heard the story of Jekyll and Hyde? It was one person, but he didn't know it. See, so what happens is you play two roles so long that you forget that you're really one person. But the people around you who are authentic know you're fake. I believe God is saying, y'all play some music because this word is getting real sad now.
It's real, it's good.
I believe God's saying the same thing that he was saying to the children of Israel through the leadership of Moses. A way has been made for you to leave. You've left physically, but the work for you to leave mentally is on you. It's nobody else's job. No leader, no teacher, no discipler. It's not their job to get in your head and make you do the work of an adult and decide to be authentic. They were ungrateful one minute, next minute they were grateful. As long as they were getting what they wanted. Doesn't that sound like so many of us? That even even in these moments, we've got to be able to look at ourselves and see, you know what? I am secure in who God has called me to be. So if I'm supposed to die today, I'm going to die today. If I'm supposed to live today, I'm going to live, but I'm going to live with purpose. I'm going to live with purpose. I'm not going to live and sit around and see what you're going to do. See, that's the problem that a lot of y'all have, and y'all too old for that. You sit around and look to see, let me see what Pastor A doing. Let me see what Deanna doing. Let me see what Deacon Tony doing. No, you've got to have a mind of your own. You've got to have an identity of your own and realize that God is talking to him, them, just like he's talking to you. But you can't hear him if you're so busy copying and pretending to be something that you're not. The bottom line is, even when you study like the rabbinic teachings, it's like the whole point of the plagues, the 10 plagues that the Israelites went through, was so that the world could see the demonstration of the power of God. Any trouble, any crisis in your life, it's so that God's power can be shown. Come on, so he can demonstrate his power, his saving power, his healing power, his redeeming power. Come on, he wants to show himself mighty. He wants to show himself strong. And so no matter what's going on, understand that God is still in control. God is still in control. Some commentators say that the point of the suffering was to make people that were not suffering more empathetic. To be able to look and say, you know what? I feel what you're going through. This house needs a dose of a spirit of empathy. It's different than sympathy. Y'all sympathize with people, but empathy means I feel you. That means I carry the same burden that you carry. I understand how you feel. I put myself in your place. See, come on, that's it. I put myself in your place. That's the same spirit that Christ had, to put himself in our place, to say, you know what? I don't even have the nature in me to sin, but I take it on so that you know you can handle it. Come on, I went through it so you know that you can go through it. Come on, I went through the pain, I went through the shame, I went through the suffering so that you know that there's nothing that comes upon you that you can't make it through. Somebody ought to give God praise for a God like that. Come on, that he cares so much about you. Come on, let the worshipers rise up. Come on, let the praise, let the grateful hearts rise up in here today. That God, we love you, we thank you, Jesus. That you care so much for us, that you took on the sin of the world. You took on the suffering of the world. Help us to be more empathetic. Help us to look at the oppressed and feel a burden and a need to step up in the same way that you step up. Same way you intercede. God, make us those that intercede for those who are hurting. God, help us to intercede for those who don't know themselves. Help us, God, to stand as a voice to those who need a voice. Help us, God. Help us to lead those who are lost. Help us to have a heart that moves beyond performance. Help us to have a heart that moves beyond being seen. Help us to have a heart that moves beyond position and title, God. But let us move into the power of demonstration from your Holy Spirit. God, we thank you and we bless you today. Because we can't make it without you. Come on, somebody just profess it today that got the Holy Ghost in here today. I can't make it without you. I can't make it without you. I can't live without you. I can't breathe without you. I can't think without you. I need you. I need you for my next move. God, I need you to be healed in order to be healed of the hurt and the pain of my past. God, I need you. Some of you in here, you need to cry out to him. You're too much in performance. I feel a prophetic thing coming over me. Don't make me call out the performers in here today. God will shut down your performance and he'll make you become authentic. He'll push you into a place of authenticity. He'll push you into a place where your praise is real, where your worship is real, where your hunger after him is real. God, make our cry real. God, make our burden real. God, make our desire for you real. From the front to the back, God, move in this place. Move us out of doing idle work and push us to a place, God, where our hearts are sincere. Pure hearts in this place. God, I thank you. I thank you for worshiping. I thank you for a mindset to worship you in whatever I'm going through, whatever I'm facing. God, I thank you that in this house you're raising up husbands who worship. You're raising up fathers who worship. You're raising up wives who worship. Sincere worship. You're raising up daughters and sons who worship you in the pureness of heart. God, we thank you today, God, that no flesh will glory in your presence. No flesh will glory in your presence. If this thing teaches us nothing, this virus teaches us that there's no good thing that dwells in this flesh. God, let our flesh, our desire to be seen, let it die. Let it die on the altar. Let it die on the altar. Every agenda, every ambition, every desire that's boast and ego, God, we put it on the altar today. And we ask you, God, for empathetic hearts in this house. For hearts that love you. For hearts that worship you. For hearts that cry out to you, not just in trouble, but every day. Daily I shall worship thee. Lamb of God who died for me. Daily I shall worship you. Daily I shall worship you. God, increase our faith in this house. Increase our faith in this house. So that even when we speak, that they won't hear us, but they'll hear you.